All right, let's call this meeting to order. It's 12:15 p.m. This is the regular board meeting for the Airport Advisory Board. It is October 9, 2019. And let's go ahead and have the call to order. I'm sorry, the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, staff, if we can have roll call, please.
Adrian Trevino.
Here.
George Narvaez.
Present.
Omar Gonzalez. Jose Lopez.
Present.
Rodolfo Rodriguez. Elizabeth Alonso Villarreal.
Present.
Robert Judd Gilpin.
Present.
Jose D. Gonzalez.
Present.
Hector Cortez. You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to item 4, minutes. So the minutes are attached to your agenda.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Gonzalez, second by Ms. Villarreal. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Let's go back, I'm sorry, let's call back item, in a roll call. We need to make a motion to excuse the members that are not here today.
I make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Trevino,
Second.
second by Mr. Gonzalez. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Yes, thank you. Citizen comments, do we have anybody in the audience that would like to comment on today's agenda? Okay, nobody's here. Let's move forward then. Staff reports, Mr. Miller, it's all yours, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to hand it immediately off here to Elsie to go through some of these reports here that are attached to the back of your packets. We'll start off with the passenger activity report.
Mr. Chairman, on employment and deployment report for this fiscal year, so for calendar year that is, we're seeing activity has increased. Percentage change for employment is up by 8.7%, with deployments at 8.63%. So
So we got
hoping
some positive
again-
numbers right now.
Yes, we're positive numbers. It'll slow down right now that we're out of the summer months with vacations, but it should start picking up again when vacations start up
Right.
in November.
But in respect to Allegiant, they're year-round, right? So they'll keep moving?
Correct. Yeah, there's 3 flights, June through August. And then we go back to the 2-flight schedule for the
Gotcha.
remainder of the year.
I should be on one in November, so.
Really?
My anniversary in Vegas.
Congratulations. We'll hope you
Yeah.
win.
Make it like an annual routine now. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on the deployments? Okay. Let's go
On
ahead and
the
move on to the next.
cargo landing report, we do see a decrease right now. It's year-to-date against last year is down 16%, 16.9%. Although from month to month, we are seeing the activity pick up substantially. This summer, it has been increasing. And we're hoping again that this track continues as the cooler months come in and also more activity with trade happens during the winter months.
Okay.
So we're expecting to pick up the
Very
numbers
good.
as well.
As far as rates are concerned, the rates are the same, right? We haven't made any changes or?
At this point, they are the same.
Okay, they're not up for review, or what was the last time when we?
About 2005, 2004, so at the
So it's
last
been a while
meeting,
then.
yeah.
Yes.
When we ran the numbers last time and we got to where we are today and all
Right.
the fees collectively, we're the cheapest in Texas.
Yeah.
As we move forward, we want to do a reassessment of us
Yeah.
comparative to the other airports. So that rate fee schedule is something we have planned for this fiscal
Sure.
year to just reassess and see, because
Right.
it's been over a decade since we
Yeah, I think it's
re-examined.
time.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's an attraction because of the low fees, but.
Right, and that's, we have some very competitive things with our airport. I think the one in particular is where we start charging for parking fees for aircraft. We're at 10 days right now, which most airports are around 4 hours to 2 hours.
Wow.
So that's attractive for people
Yeah.
to utilize the facility, to park an aircraft and to go. But
Right.
it's all stuff I think all of us need to kind of assess and see
Sure.
our advantage versus, maybe some adjustments.
Right, very good. Okay. Fuel flow?
FBO fuel flow figures very correlated to the activity that you saw in the prior page. We do see a decrease, as of August, it's down to 22%. But as you saw in the report, it's also starting to pick up on that month, the total revenue and accounts.
What about these are the assessments, are they all current?
What do you mean?
The fuel bill fees, the revenues? They report they pay, as
Yeah,
they
the
report they
report
pay?
together. The report comes together with the money.
With the money?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, they're supposed to be.
And it's as of the end of August though, right?
As of the end of August, yes. Right now, we're working on September's figures. And going over, I think you have delinquent report next. We do have some accounts that we've been working with, and mostly it's from landing fees of usual aircraft that come in. So sometimes we'll get them and they'll pay at the FIS. Sometimes when they have activity that is related more for domestic, then we have to go into collections and try to collect. So we're working through those collection processes,
Sure.
if you will. But
Sure.
right now it's at 21,589.
Now, the ones that are over 90, Baker, is Parker or Baker?
It's Barker.
Barker, yeah, typo.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's actually on parking fees, and that's like Jeff mentioned right now. We are gonna be reviewing the ordinance for aircraft parking. And there was a unfortunate event with Mr. Taylor, as some of you already
Right.
know.
Yes.
He passed away.
Okay.
So we're working with the new management team there to try and work through some of the items that they have to change with their company, so.
Jet Racing.
Jet Racing, I think was one of the items.
Is that the
that's
same
in
track
past.
as before, or the only track they have left, or?
Yes, they only
Okay.
have one.
Is that where the
They
sheriff's
used to
at?
have 6 at one point. They're over on the northwest.
That's where the sheriff has a sublease,
That
right?
is
The
correct.
helicopter, okay.
Yes. Yes, so we have a big problem with this tenant. The city, I know it's an action item or item for discussion in the
Okay.
agenda, but I guess we'll go through it right now.
Okay.
We did have court this morning at the district court. The process is you go through the JP to get an eviction.
Mhm.
We did get the eviction by the judge. The tenant went ahead and appealed the eviction, so we're at district court. We went today to the judge, but the tenant requested a continuation on that, so it looks like we might continue this process until another 30, 45 days. I'm pending to hear from the court when we're gonna go to trial. We are wanting, the city that is, wants to continue with eviction process and try to get the
Yeah.
property back. As you can see, this is, recurring. The tenant
For
will pay.
years.
Years. The tenant will
Yeah.
pay, and then he'll be behind another 3 months,
Yeah.
knowing that the process that it follows, the legal
Take the fight,
proceedings,
take the
Yeah.
fight
takes
to them.
time. The day
Yeah.
before court, he pays, and then we start all over the process.
Keep fighting, because then you're gonna send a
Yeah.
message to everybody else.
Yeah.
That is correct. That is our intent. So,
Good.
How about the one out of business? Is that, you gonna carry that on, or is that, because I mean, how you
at
gonna
that
collect?
point, it's very difficult, so we have to work with the legal department to try and see if there's any assets left over from that business. But the business is not from Texas, so it makes it even a little bit more lengthy, the process. So I know we talked to the last contact we had on file for the company, and they said, well, the owner passed away as well. The company went out of business. So
Mhm.
we're just gonna try to see if we can get a lien on whatever assets it might have. If not, it might die out at that point.
Mhm. Okay.
Yes.
Cargo, April?
Mr. Chairman, on the status of the pre-construction of cargo from Phase 11 and Phase 12, main construction continues to work, and the progress right now is about 65%. And we're in schedule, and we're gonna finish before the contract a lot of time, but everything it's okay. It's fine.
Do the board members have any questions for Mr. Lambrada or Mr. Miller?
Good job, man.
So with the master plan presentation, Elsie's gonna talk a little bit about it, but we did kick off the land use development plan, which was successful. Thank you, Member Gilpin, for showing up and kind of supporting us over there. We did get a lot of responses from the community, which I think is good, which leads into the master plan process. So Elsie wants to talk a little bit about it.
So, I know there was a request by Mr. Gilpin in regards to the master plan. Obviously, the master plan is quite a large document. As a matter of fact, this is one right here. So at any time, if any of the board members would like to sit down and go over it more in detail, we can certainly do that. So one of the areas that we're gonna discuss today is in regards to development, where you have an item also in regards to tenant leasing. So I think we're gonna put it together from your request list, if you don't mind. So we have, again, a land use plan and development plan that we're working on. Hopefully, the next 6 months or so, we should be getting the results of that study back. And so it will give us more of a focal point of where we're gonna go in the next couple of years with both the properties that we have right now vacant, to include facilities and vacant land, that where are we gonna continue? Is it the areas that we have adjacent to the flight line or in the flight line or even outside of the fence? Where are we gonna go with that? Are we gonna focus on all aeronautical? Are we gonna have some retail? Are we gonna have hotels? Are we gonna have cargo and warehousing, or even medical? So those are some of the things that we discussed in the meeting when we had the public workshop. As you can see, some of the items that are focused here in orange is available properties that we have inside of the aeronautical land. Some of which might or might not be developed in the future just because of operational needs. As you can see, we have these lines right here is what we cannot develop just because of the runway protection zone. But the orange is areas that we're looking at developing inside of the fence that our master plan currently talks about for development of hangars adjacent to the ramps, and that would allow for more cargo activity or even general aviation activity. Now, if we were to, in the future, we have in our master plan availability to decommission our crosswind runway right now. So this one's operational. Should this one ever be decommissioned in the future, that would allow to continue having 2 parallel runways, but then it'll open up a lot of this land for development and all aeronautical, which, as you know, right now we are landlocked. I mean, there's all the land around the airport is already pretty much developed. The city has grown. So this will allow the airport to grow in the future a little bit more. So those are some of the components that we're looking at, because it opened not just this, but here too.
1432, what is this?
1430 the crossway, yeah.
Right.
14.
So is that open right now?
Yes, it's operational. But that adds another component that we might otherwise not have.
Right.
So some of the features that our master plan has is some opportunities for cargo and hangar development, or even for general aviation. That means like the private jet. So this one is a rendition for a general aviation facility, a concept that we have. So if you see here, let's see, this is Echo, this is over here where Barker Aeromotive is at, over by Thomas and Bustamante. So at this point, the fence ends right here at Barker's, or Texas National Guard. And so we were to expand the fence over to the west side, which is this dotted black line, that would allow for expansion of the ramp and development of additional hangar facilities that we currently do not have. So those are some of the exhibits that we have in our master plan, different concepts that we could look at. This is a rendition to where you would put the hangar on the edges as well. for allowing additional aircraft to park there. Or this is another one too where you could also demolish the existing facilities, which this one right here has already been recently demolished a few months ago. And so if you were to demolish the hangar where Barker's at, you would be able to develop potentially 6 new hangars and then change the direction of the apron and do an expansion as well. Of course, this is all subject to FAA funding, because FAA, as some of you might know, are helping us with the apron reconstruction, but expansion of an apron is very difficult to justify to FAA. As we move over to the other side of the airport, more by taxiway, Gulf and Delta, this is another area that could be done. So like over here, this is Bustamante, where you see the existing L shape, if you will, blue hangars off of Bustamante. A lot of you know LA Ventures, yes, Joe. This is another opportunity that could be used in the future to develop additional hangars, where right now it's all vacant. It's basically taxiway properties, which is this area right here.
And by doing that, that won't interfere with, I don't know what that taxiway, that
And Echo
taxiways-
would have to
Echo.
be removed, yes. So it's this one right here.
that
So
would
right
be
now
counterproductive or no?
well, again, it depends what is the trade looking for. I mean, if we exhaust all the other opportunities in the land first, then that will be an
They would have to
alternative
use.
in the future.
What's that, Delta, what is that up there?
Yes, this, basically these 2 taxiways right here, developing this area here.
No, but what I'm saying, to then access your west side, what would you use?
There's 3, and there's Alpha as well.
Alpha and
And
Delta.
Delta.
Okay, I got you.
Mhm.
So you would only block
Echo,
Echo.
yeah.
I got you.
Now, I mean, the good thing is that our master plan has different
Options.
elevations and, well, short-term and long-term. So we're able to use those alternatives very well to the advantage of the airport. So obviously, this is not something that we would jump in next year to do, because Echo is currently being used very heavily by operators like UPS and Everett. So it's not, and we just had actually a widening project done this year. So, and that's not something we would do on the short term, but in the future and long term, that's always some available property that we would be able to utilize in the future to grow the airport. Should, again, all the other alternatives
Right.
be exhausted. And we talk about, again, apron space, we talk about capacity and funding availability. You know, if, say we already exhausted this land and no more extension of aprons are gonna be able to be done, then you have this availability in the future to use more of this apron without having to do an extension, but, you know, so we have some options. Now, in the tenant listings, we do have, obviously a lot of land that we have available outside. And part of the land use development plan is, researching all of the properties that we have, not just vacant, but also currently leased. What are the years left on those leases, short-term and long-term? And as they terminate those leases in the long term, how are we gonna roll them into the new plan? So all those things are gonna be reviewed. Obviously, as, again, I'm mixing different things, but some of them are very tied together. The existing properties in regards to buildings that are vacant, we go out and we review them. We go ahead and make any maintenance that are needed, if needed, and we're always in the lookout to try to lease them, of course, as fast as possible. But right now with the land use development plan, it's really an opportunity to, instead of being locked in for another 40 years just to lease a land or a property, we really want to have also the plan available to, that way we can make a very thorough assessment. But as here, this exhibit allows you to see some of the areas that we're working with. Now, and in the terminal, for example, we have, as you see here in red, a lot of areas available. That's not to say that you're gonna lease it right now, all of it, because we do have some extensions of the terminal also planned for the future. We're actually doing some preliminary planning to see what we could do with the terminal in the short term. But also, some of those areas are either designated for car rental, for QTA, which is like a rent and return type of facility, somewhat closer here to the south end, maybe extension of the parking lot. So not everything is necessarily a building per se, but some of them might be like operational space that we might use at the airport. Any questions? And again, at any time, we're welcome to have meetings one-on-one to continue seeing more of the master plan.
Is this something council already has in their possession, or?
The master plan itself is in theory, it's an idea of different directions the facility goes. So they take in the terminal area forecast and maybe what the southern region of Texas could possibly do in the next 10 to 20 years.
Right.
So it's not necessary, the FAA accepts the document and they approve the ALP and they approve the forecasting section of it. But as far as going to council and approving, it's really not at that point, because this is more.
I guess what I meant more like you've had this presentation with them?
We've
or-
had discussions
okay.
with
That's what I
council
meant.
members at different
Not
times.
necessarily having the physical document. and-
Yes,
Right.
But just they're kind of aware of what
yes.
you kind
And
of briefed us on.
At any time, I know, some of them are gonna be running in this next year. At any time when we have new councilmen, we always invite them to come into the airport and give them a tour. We've had that with pretty much
Right.
just about all of them, to come in and see the facilities and precisely talk about these development
Okay.
plans.
Other than Mr. Gilpin's participation from our advisory board, how was the reception there? Was it engaging, positive engagement with the attendants there, or?
Were there people?
I would, yeah,
They
they're-
were showing.
Good.
And I
Yes.
think really, people that are the influential ones in the real estate division, I know you have a list of people, we have some follow-up meetings coming, but, no, there was interest, and as you see the board behind you, this is one of the displays that was there, so it was interactive, as
Well,
people
good,
could.
so they know.
Yeah, so they could kind of move through, and we got, the idea is, I have thoughts in my head, everybody in this room does, but collectively, what's the best way to go here? And I think we got a lot of that input that night, and so, and the press showed up as well, so we
Mhm.
can
Yes, sir.
get some good.
That's good.
I don't know if Mr. Gilpin, what your thoughts were in the.
I thought it was
event.
excellent. I liked it, and it seemed like it was pretty well received by everybody, so it's good.
And honestly, we had different tables, and I think you probably saw some of those where people could go and interact, not just, just talk, but actually, for those that were more of a visual person, they could write down either a note, or they can go up to an exhibit like that at a table,
And staff member was
and put,
back and forth with
plug
them.
and play what they would like to develop that particular vacant property as. And actually, that was one of the most solicited tables in the event. We were able to get that back, take a picture every time an individual will go and put the little pictures and plug and play, if you will, take a picture, clean it out, and start with the next citizen. And after talks of the event, what we saw is that a lot of the community is actually going kind of like in the same direction that
Right.
we were already kind of thinking about.
Which is?
They want to see more development in the west side of
But what
the
type of
airport.
development?
So the industrial commercial side, which for us is important because that's more compatible to an airport.
Okay.
As far as when you start talking quality of life
Mhm.
and noise, and, especially even we had the housing that the airport has acquired through
Mhm.
the noise program, and that process, how that looks year over year.
Mhm.
And so I think it reconfirmed that thought process, that it wasn't, let's put a bunch of houses next to the airport,
Mhm.
which is good because it doesn't, that's not good compatibility use to the facility.
Right.
That is really what the FAA looks like. You shouldn't go down this road. So it's nice to see that the community is in line with that thought process as well. Now, a difference in what that industry
Right.
is or what that commercial activity is, but it's good that it's going that way.
Gotcha.
Just was it more like shopping centers or warehousing?
So it depended on who you were talking to. I think the good portion of it was warehousing, and obviously there was the medical component to it as well. But some of it shopping, and it just depended.
Shopping, retail, hotels.
Right.
we're,
Right.
Now on this, and I know it's red, but is there a legend there? I
Yes,
can't
there is.
see.
on the
Okay,
right
I see-
side.
okay. That's not
So
my
red is
section.
being
Okay.
long-term.
All right,
Yeah, long-term.
okay.
And I know, again, I'm jumping on the request ahead of time, but it's very much related to what was requested is, we are, in short term, we are gonna be going out on bids on certain properties. To include the terminal, we're gonna be going out on bids for car rental concession opportunities. We're also gonna be going out on bids for concession for a gift shop, a coffee shop for the terminal, which was previously utilized by Duty Free. And then on the west side of the airport, which is the cargo areas, we also have 3 properties that we've identified. A lot of the work has already been done. It took a while because we had to do asbestos abatement on some of the existing facilities, and gotten permission from FAA to demolish and permission from the Texas Historical Commission. But a lot of that work and cleanup has already been done, so we're gonna be going pretty soon on bids for possible fixed space operator fueling operations, or also to develop hangars or even MROs, so maintenance repairs. So we have short-term some plans as well for development.
Okay. Very good. At this point, I'd like to make a motion to call up item 7, and then we can come back to the introductory ordinance. Need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gonzalez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Against. Passes. All right, let me read that. The motion is discussion and possible action to nominate a board chair and vice chair and also discuss the, I guess, scheduling the meeting dates as per ordinance number 83, that's O, right? 0071. Okay. So as I had mentioned earlier, just keep that in mind. And if there's any nominations on the table, I'd like to entertain those right now.
Can we nominate the guys that aren't here so they can come up to the shop?
They can't turn it. That's what happens.
If Mr. Gonzalez accepts, I would like to nominate Mr. Jose Gonzalez as chair of this board.
I was, yeah. I was
I'll
gonna-
leave that up to you. You can decline that, but I want to get the conversation moving. We got to start somewhere.
Do we need a second
Who
before
is,
he?
who is co-chair
Um,
right now?
There's nobody's
There
coach
is
right
no,
now.
okay.
Well,
All right.
I'd like to get, your response to that before we make a motion on the table.
You know what, I don't know what the responsibilities are. I have enough time to sit there and move forward. I'm sure, I'd like to work with Elsie if that's allowed, but yeah, I'd be more than happy to sit there and move forward if allowed and if chosen, so.
Yes, sir. So I'll make the motion to nominate Mr. Gonzalez as chairman of this board. If I can entertain a
Second.
second.
second it.
Second by Mrs. Villarreal. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations.
Mr.
That
Chairman.
was easy.
Yeah.
Or Adios.
That's a going.
Yeah, but there's still a process. I mean, there's still a couple of.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
It's not- yeah, next week.
Let's switch chairs now. Let me go ahead and finish this one off, right?
And it would be effective when? Is
Next
this
meeting.
At the next meeting,
Okay.
Yes.
So I guess if, I'll leave the second nomination to somebody else. I'm trying to remember, were you the vice chair recently?
No, Ed,
It was Ed,
No.
it was Ed, it's no
Ed,
longer with
he
us,
left and
right?
we were gonna have discussion, but we never
That's
reached a
right.
quorum and so we never followed
Yeah.
through.
Who's running this board?
Jeez.
So, I mean,
Jeez.
with Elizabeth's experience, I'm gonna make a motion to nominate her because she's got a lot of experience and I've heard her and I listen to what she's had to offer and she's got a lot of inside information. I'm gonna make that motion if she accepts.
Okay.
Careful.
I know.
Don't jump at it.
I know. No, but I mean, if there's anything that, we can do, and we've always worked well together, and if the rest of the members are in agreement, that's fine.
Absolutely.
I'd be more than happy to serve.
Yeah.
So she
You're
accepts, now we
You're
vote.
non-confrontational.
Need a second, no?
We're good.
I'll second the
Okay, the
motion.
second,
Easy go.
Trevino seconds, there's a motion on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so let's go ahead and move back. I'm sorry, we still have not Do you want to leave the discussion as far as setting meeting dates for the next meeting, or are you comfortable with the current arrangement?
Current arrangement works good for me. I think
Okay, so we'll leave it alone, and once you all take over, you want to address that later on, I guess just put it back on the agenda.
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
in the past, we've had a different date, usually it's on Wednesdays. And years ago, maybe around 3 years ago or 4, it got moved over to the second Wednesday of the month,
Mhm.
just because of the availability to get the items that you recommend for approval and being able to get into the agendas on time
Right.
for city council, and still allows the items to kind of flow quickly. We found that if you're too far at the end, then you already missed the whole month.
Mhm.
If you're far in the early, we don't have enough time to actually put it on the agenda, so just,
What is
On the-
staff
as far as the
recommending?
airport
What do you all recommend as far as meeting the deadlines
I
and all?
think we wanted to keep what we have now.
if
I
it's
think it
okay
works
with-
well.
with the
Okay.
members, we would.
So
Very
second
So right
week?
now, what is it, the third?
Yeah, keep the same.
The second-
Third.
The same day we
Second.
have right now.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Good?
that's fine.
Mhm.
All righty. Let's go ahead and, thank you. I'm going to read the introductory ordinance. We're now back at item 6. Consider recommendation to mayor and city council to authorize the co-interim city managers to execute a lease agreement between City of Laredo as lessor and Laredo Aero Center, Inc., doing business as Signature Flight Support as lessee for approximately 6,828.50 square feet, constituting a tract of land in block number 1 located at the Laredo International Airport. The initial monthly rent shall be $1,434 and will be adjusted annually according to the changes in the Consumer Price Index, known as the CPI, and further amended by the fair market value appraisal every 5 years. The term shall commence on January the 1st, 2020, and ending June 30th, 2030.
And so this, Mr. Chairman, is a expansion of the fuel farm facility for Signature,
Okay.
which is, I think, supportive of the airport. And I think it's also indicative, you see the number says a little bit, but the idea that growth will continue and they want to expand their operation.
You'll be prepared for it, yeah. Is there any questions by the board?
It's just improvement, it's just more income as well, right? So-
Yeah, and then they would expand, they'd actually add a tank at some point.
Yeah.
1 to 2 20,000 gallon tanks.
Yeah.
No brainer. Make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Gonzalez.
A
Can I
second.
Second by Mr. Narvaez. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Introductory ordinance passes. Now, let's see, we got the second one here. Consider a recommendation to mayor and city council to authorize the interim city managers to execute a lease agreement between the city of Laredo as lessor and Washington's Birthday Celebration Association, Inc. as lessee for approximately 15 acres of concrete ramp located at the West General Aviation Parking, located at the Laredo International Airport, purpose of hosting the WBCA Stars and Stripes Air Show Spectacular. The term of the said lease agreement shall be for 2 days, once a year, every February, for a term of 10 years commencing on February the 1st, 2020 and ending on March 1st, 2030. City Council finds and declares that a valid public purpose will be served in setting the daily rental fee at $1, providing for an effective date. Oh, that's nice of them.
The airport does approve of this, and they, right now, are going year by year,
Mhm.
and so this helps to.
So you basically bring it up every year, $1 every year.
Right, yeah.
They're just setting.
This helps us with, not so much as budgeting, but also pre-planning. It allows also WBCA to plan ahead versus just about
Right.
every year we have to go through this process every time. And so this would
Mhm.
allow also for upfront planning. I know you see here $1, but it does bring public community interaction
Mhm.
between the airport and the citizens of Laredo, and also people that
Mhm.
come from out of town. So this is more of a public relations for us opportunity. But also WBCA does take care of all the expenses and that might come out from even airport staff for those days.
Okay.
So we have security that they pay for, and even meetings related and cleanup afterwards, they take care of all of that as
Well,
well.
they get sponsored events, businesses to sponsor that, because I know
Mhm.
And I guess this
it's
brings
okay.
commerce.
The quality of life for Laredo, I think it's a benefit, yeah.
Well,
And
it brings commerce to Laredo and it brings,
Hotels, business heads and stuff like that.
you know, for the whole WBCA, so it gets
No,
$1.
because you're not
Yeah,
on the
investment.
WBCA
I know
board.
from them
No,
that
we're okay.
the quality of life component here is big. I know out of everything they do through that celebration, this doesn't make any money for them, but it's more for the
Exposure
The
for,
combined-
the exposure for us, you know, so.
and people
Oh,
love
absolutely.
this component of it. It's,
Is there room for expansion? Because I know this is growing every year as well, so.
yeah, you know, it really, when we work with them, it's just who can commit to come down here when you start talking about flight displays, because we're competing with the rest of the country. So typically, once somebody commits, they do that on a yearly schedule, the same as us. We have a flight show every year. So they work closely with the partners to try to bring in, you know, the talent to do the actual staff.
Save time for management time, you know, they're gonna have to do that every year.
Right.
And then another motion, man, this is a no-brainer.
I see. Motion on the table, by Mr. Gonzalez.
Make a motion.
Second by Mr. Narvaez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right. So we got both introductory ordinances out of the way, and the motion was already approved, which is under item 7. Let's move on to item 8, requests, and the first one is a request by Airport Advisory Board member Omar Gonzalez and Mr. Jose Gonzalez regarding the FIS operations report.
We have them, correct?
Yes, there's a report attached to the back. We have operations, as we said, have been down overall for cargo compared to year. That's no different than international operations. We see that trend as well. But we're,
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is this a report you're
Yes.
talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
and so these are the operations that we're seeing at the FIS. I would like to invite the board members. I was speaking to JD about it a few minutes ago. We have the U.S. Department of Commerce that will be coming in to see the operations at the FIS next October 17th, which is a Thursday at noon. And more than anything, they're here not just to see the airport, but the operation that is so unique to Laredo, which is the dual customs project. So we're gonna have some talks with the members that are gonna be traveling, most of them from Washington
Yes.
DC.
Have us, have personal friends involved in this, and I tell you what, I use this as a tool to promote Laredo and use them as ambassadors. And especially when they come down, they come back with a feeling of, you know, hey, this is a different environment, not what they see in the media, and it allows them to sit there and promote us. So it's a benefit, and the more of us that attend, I think it's a positive
Yeah,
plus.
I was gonna say, you know, the more, and, you know, and I guess we just need like a reminder, but like in these situations or any others, in order to promote, sometimes the investors, they like seeing the board, the staff, you know, as many, so if we could attend, that would be
Yeah,
good.
we'll send you an invite. I know we have some changes because there's a lot of people coming in, but the date has been defined at the time.
Okay.
And so.
It's a 2-day event, right?
It is, yes. It's such a big group that is coming.
Right, they're going everywhere, the bridge.
Influential group
Yes.
too, man, so.
Yes.
Very
Yeah, a lot of
influential.
them have never been here to Laredo, so this would be a good, I think they're taking the opportunity to really see all the different aspects like World Trade Bridge, and they're meeting, they're being hosted by the public as well, organization, so it will be a good opportunity for them to get to know Laredo, the trade that's happening not just at the airport, but also the bridges. And then see, face to face here, the operation that we have at the FIS, which is very unique, not just because of the dual customs, but also that we have on-site 24/7 U.S. Customs operations. So it's like a double services that we offer here at this airport, so.
Is the Convention and Visitors Bureau involved also in?
And at different points
At different
on the
points.
agenda,
Yeah,
they
no,
might,
yeah.
yeah, this was,
Well, for
it's gonna be very
hospitality,
specific.
you know.
Yeah.
Right, right.
It's a big agenda, it's being,
Yeah.
managed through the U.S. Department of Commerce.
I know that we have discussion, and I know, Ms. Miller, I know this is still fairly new to you, so take consideration, has there been discussion with Michigan Customs on opening up the opportunity to import with the other sectors other than just the 4 or 5 and the 8 airports, or is that still just in discussions?
It's more in the discussion realm. So right now we have, what we previously talked about with the program expanding beyond going directly to Mexico, but going to these other airports in the country, Memphis, Louisville, and then to places like Guadalajara. If that timeline goes correctly through their legal, we should see that in the next month to month and a half, the approval of that process. And then once we can start that and show that this service, this extension of it is working well, I think they'll be more receptive for us to go back and start talking about now expanding product and expanding cities. But the conversations that we've had with them so far is it's delicate. They're all new to it as well. Everybody on the Mexico government side are new within their positions. The good news is they like the program, they like what they see here in Laredo, and I think we just need to give some time to let them understand it as well, and then slowly, incrementally go at each one of these sections, because we've presented the list, and we've kind of been told we want to assess, we want to see how this expansion works, and then kind of move from there. So I think we're moving in the right direction. It's not overnight, and that's new to me as well, but working within the governments and working with the head of Mexican Customs, this is kind of the route they want to take at the moment.
Yeah, that's kind of looking at, because right now, take consideration, new administration, they're already almost into a year into their administration.
Right.
I think we could kind of tap into some of the
Right.
resources they have to offer. And the second thing, we have a big hit right now because GM's going on strike on the US side, and they've laid off individuals, so that allows more use for the use of airplanes right now. We should be able to sit there and increase
Right.
for this particular time, because that is part of the sector that's in there, so.
Right, absolutely, and we're in line with you as far as how important it is, and you know, if we could open it up tomorrow, I would absolutely love that. But we definitely are having those conversations. We'll continue to work with you and keep you advised, and the members as well, as how those are going or the involvement with them. But it is a process, as anything.
Understood. Thank you.
On the next item, I think on item 3, we already covered that, and on item 2 was regarding the flight services to Mexico.
Absolutely. So, you know, kind of as I had previously talked, and Member Navarez, I apologize, I know you weren't here for that conversation, but as far as specifics, I really prefer to have those conversations aside from a public forum, just because of the nature of the airline industry.
Sure,
But
sure.
we are having, you know, high-level conversations with the Mexico carrier. We'll do some traveling coming up here soon, myself and some members within the city.
Mhm.
And right now, conversations are positive, and I would be more than happy to elaborate on that
Sure.
offline.
Okay. But it's still on the table, it's still moving.
Absolutely, right.
Okay.
And so it's a negotiation process right now with the airlines and the industry, and this is not indicative of Laredo, but as the industry as whole,
Right.
these kind of conversations are very much in the favor of the airline. And so the same as Laredo or McAllen or Browns or any other airport in this country, they're progressively going after these carriers as well. And especially when you start talking about a Mexico route, not only do you have the pilot shortage and the shortage of aircraft, but you also have slot controls in Mexico City. So you're cannibalizing on multiple levels if you provide service to Laredo.
Okay.
So when you start talking to the airlines, they're going to say, what are you offering to me that's maybe more appealing than Tucson,
Yeah.
Arizona? And I think that we've had some very positive conversations with city management and with
It's almost like a
standpoint-
draft, right? Like the NFL draft.
Right, exactly, right. But, you know, these conversations, once again, they take, you know, a little bit of time.
Yeah, sure.
But I think we've had some positive forward steps, and like I said, I'd be more than happy to elaborate on any of those points.
Thank you, sir.
But it is very positive you're looking at. I just want to make sure.
Yes.
I'm not going to excuse myself. I'm sorry. I got a couple of conference calls now. so I
Yes, sir.
have to go.
Kyle,
Sir?
be in touch. We'll see you next
Pleasure.
time.
We'll be talking.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
He's walking out when I get myself into. Okay, and then the last request was by our Vice Chair-elect, Ms. Villarreal, list of all vacant buildings and land properties. I don't know if the
A listing was
previous.
provided, it's at the end of the
Okay.
sheet, I know we discussed a little bit
Yeah, we had discussed that. And so right now, so I can just have a better understanding, these buildings, the ones in the bottom, what type of use are they for?
Well, again, subject to change based on the land use development plan that we're gonna get. Because some of these, depending on what the report says, they might be subject to either changing of zoning or
So
changing of use.
when is this finalized? Because let's say in the event, and
I was
I'm
just about to
probably,
say
you know,
that,
like
yes.
in the event somebody comes in, are you know, what's
Well, I think
the
the-
position right now?
We're not stopping anything. As a matter of fact, we're in negotiations on a couple of different components within these properties. But typically what we have right now is we have somebody that doesn't want to take the full bulk of maybe one of these properties as they exist today. So then that turns back into a resurvey and an appraisal of that new portion of the property, which is things depending on the situation and what makes sense for the airport. We're actually in the process of some of that right now. So we definitely don't discourage anybody from coming out and if they are actively pursuing something, but typically it's not, you know, we'll take it as it is today and we'll take it for the price it is. We have to go back and we have to reassess and then also look at their proposal. And we're going through those motions as we
Yeah.
speak on
No,
several
we haven't
properties.
stopped. It's not like we've closed our doors. We continue to actually show the buildings. We've had several in the last couple of days. We are currently working on 2 facilities as we speak. So that
And
process continues.
I know we had talked about the website and,
Right.
you know,
Adding that component.
in the component of, you know, having, you know, properties available. I mean, that would be a good
Yeah, and I
resource
think
for you all.
I think we're
Yes.
moving that route, right?
Yes. Once the website is up and running, it'll have a business
Do you have a
section.
time frame for the website?
We're working with our vendor. We actually have Manuel here, the Luna, who's been very helpful, and now that he just came on board 2 months ago, but we're working on that to try and get it within the next 60 days
Okay.
up and going. But it'll have a business component that will be able to have like trade numbers, properties available,
Good.
development opportunities, you know, up and coming meetings that we're having, all that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, definitely put it to good use.
Yeah.
Yes.
City have Facebook page, City of Laredo?
Yes.
You could even add the link there too.
Right.
Tie back to the airport website.
Yes.
Right, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So, okay, any other questions by the board regarding the requests? Final comments, so we can close the meeting? All good, ready for lunch? Okay, well, I'll ask for a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Gilpin,
Second.
second by Ms. Villarreal, and the time is 1 p.m. Thank you, guys.